Pierre and I go back 25 years. So that is before most of you on the screen were even born. So Pierre and I know each other. I know Stevie was so happy to hear that, right? And I have met, quote unquote, some of you through the other program that we do. So it's a very comfortable place to be in. And I think we have about 40 minutes total. I want to make it as
Paul, you are muted.
I didn't do anything. You must have done something.
I think I did something.
Yes. Okay. So I was saying, it's good to be with you. And hopefully we can spend the next few minutes, which could be productive and a heavenly experience for all of us. That's what I'm looking for. A little bit about myself. Piero wanted me to say a little bit about myself. I came from India. I was born and raised in India, South India to be exact. I was a Catholic priest for 13 years, both in India and in Canada. And then I did my doctorate in theology as a priest in the University of Toronto, and then came to the United States to do my, master's in counseling. And then I met my wife, fell in love, which a Catholic priest is not allowed to do. So once you get married, they kick you out of the church. You can't function in the church. So the next best logical thing to do, perhaps the only thing I knew how to do, was to stick with the education that I had. So I became a chaplain with Vitas Hospice, spiritual support and chaplaincy for 18 years. I was in Broward County, where most of you live, I know, and retired and moved to Gainesville, Florida, to live a happily ever after. That's where I am now. So the name that I'll tell you the little story about what Piero said. Veliyathil, nobody pronounces my last name. All these years they'll say, "What's your name?" And I'll say Paul, and because the other one is too hard. So what happened was, this was like 18 years ago. During my I had a patient in Deerfield Beach. She was in her 80s and she had Alzheimer's, but she had some level of consciousness and understanding, very pleasant, always smiling. And I'm sitting in front of her, and she asked me, "What's your name?" And I said, "Paul." And she said, "What's your last name? What's your real name?" And I said, "You don't, I mean, it's a long name. It's a difficult name." "Yeah, I want to know." So I had my badge, the Vitas badge around my neck. So instead of saying anything, I just lifted that badge and held right in front of her eyes. And she looked at it very intensely for, I don't know, 30 seconds. And he said, "Very faithful." If you look at the name Veliyathil, nine, I think, of the letters of that name is also in very faithful. So it was a revelation to me. I said, when she said that, I had tears in my eyes. I said, "Oh my God, this lady is seeing into me almost, or calling me out to be faithful to life, to people, to myself." So this was an invitation to be that. It is very revealing, actually. That's the first story in my book, which I wrote 75 stories about my hospice chaplaincy experience and put it as a book. It's called Sunset Stories, Lessons from the Dying for the Living. Oh, there he is showing it. It's called Sunset Stories, meaning stories that you tell when you're about to die. And Lessons from the dying for the living. So that's what that book came about. So that is me in a nutshell. There's a lot more. If I were to sit and tell stories about my life, there's too many of them. But I think here we are today, particularly, I think Piero wanted me to just, come over today to be part of this because Earth Day is coming up. Next Monday is actually Earth Day. And that is a day that I'm so passionate about. I don't know how many of you actively are involved in Earth Day or do anything about it or think about it. About 1 billion people will celebrate Earth Day next week in some fashion. And that is in 193 countries. 1 billion is only like 12% of the population. There's 88%, like 7 billion people won't even care about it, don't know anything about it. And that's how that day even goes. And I was one of those. I never cared about Earth Day. I didn't even know that it existed for almost half of my life. So, because that has a lot to do with where I grew up and what my upbringing was about. As a Catholic priest, we never cared about the earth because the caring was all about heaven. And we were taught about how to go to heaven after you die rather than worry about things down here below. So the purpose of being a priest was to glorify God. I mean, God is up there beyond the clouds. You sing praises to him, you offer sacrifices to him. And so it was a life almost in suspended animation from the ground beneath my feet. So earth was viewed as a valley of tears, with suffering, with pain and tribulations. You know, the sooner we get out of here, the better it was. That is, that was the concern and that was the teaching. And so for the first 5 decades of my life, I walked on earth. I was alienated from the earth. I was not even aligned with the ethos and the rhythms of the planet. I paid no attention to the ground beneath my feet or experienced the magic of the universe. So what happened was, in the early part of the 21st century, which is year 2000 onwards, my eyes opened. I was learning more about climate crisis, the need for environmental protection, and so Earth Day became, it came on my radar and my thinking. I said, this is something that I should pay attention to. So I preached a sermon. I still remember this was in 2010 in Coral Springs, Royal Palm Christian Church. This was Earth Day weekend, and I preached a sermon about, the caring for the earth and how you need to be involved. And it's not about going to heaven later. This life is important. And this nice lady, we stand at the entrance of the church to greet the people. And this nice lady came to me and said, you didn't say anything about Jesus. What you're talking about earth here in a church of all places? Because she couldn't believe that, an earthly topic could be mentioned in a heavenly place, kind of. So I began experiencing a spiritual shift, I should say, from being, that was the time period in my life that I began experiencing uh, from being my life being, heaven centered to earth centered. A shift from being, God in heaven to God on earth. And that shift prompted me to make Earth Day as holy as Easter and Christmas. I don't know, if you're a Christian persuasion, those two are big mega holidays of the church, Easter, Christmas. And normally Christians will never equate Earth Day with those two. They'll say, oh, no, Earth Day is, don't even mention, don't even go there. But that's what my thinking was. So feel free to raise your hand, while I talk. If you want to ask a question or a clarification, we can stop right there and ask. So I could ask you, maybe if somebody wants to react to that question. If you are of the Christian faith, would you equate Easter with Earth Day or Christmas with Earth Day? Anybody? You can say, I don't know, I won't, I can't, whatever, anything.
I'll jump in.
Okay, Nancy, I think wanted to say it, right? Go
Okay,
ahead.
Nancy.
I never thought about the concept, but I love it. I wrote that down. So great thought.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. That's the whole idea, to provoke to think. Anybody else?
Yeah, I was going to jump in.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't equate to the normal holidays of the Christian tradition. Earth Day. Never thought about it actually, but on my journey, it would be nice if Earth Day was every day, or if every day we had concern and care for the planet. So
Yep.
this is something that changed in me recently, Paul. I wasn't there, to be honest with you, because I had never, Paul, overcome the paralysis. I never said, okay, I understand that the earth is suffering, that the earth has a fever, and but I don't know what to do to cure earth's fever. And so I was paralyzed. I was kind of discouraged, in despair. And then suddenly I realized I'm going to do what I can. I'm gonna discuss this matter with my friends. I'm going to go to the beach and pick up plastic. I'm going to do something. I'm going to educate people if I can about it. So then I think that Earth Day became real to me. So that's my consideration, Paul.
Good. Anybody else?
Penelope said, Holy Earth Day.
Amen. Okay,
Amen.
that's a good one. Yep. Yeah. So how this shift happened for me? So I started thinking about because all these years of my life I was thinking of Earth as an object, an inanimate, almost inanimate object. I was not awakened to the notion that the the ground beneath my feet and the entire planet is alive. It is so. It is a process rather than an object. So the vision of Earth as a living process will replace our unconscious notion that we are living on the earth with the new awareness that we are living with the earth. I mean, just changing that preposition from on the earth to with the earth will completely change your life as earthlings. That's what I experienced. And it's an exciting way to live. Once you change, I'm not on it, but I'm with it, then everything that the earth feels, we feel, and what we feel, the earth feels, which is so true because Thich Nhat Hanh, which is one of the greatest thinkers and mystics of all times, he talks about the concept of interbeing. I'm sure, Pierre, you're very familiar with it. Interbeing. You guys are all familiar with that. It's not like a separation. So because living on the earth makes us users and abusers. We are here, we are going to plunder it, we're going to use it and then leave it for future generations. I don't care what happens. That mentality too, we are living with the earth. So we'll be co-creators and collaborators on a cosmic journey of hope. So you're familiar with Martin Buber, the psychologist, who came up with the idea of I-thou relationship. and he was strictly speaking about I thou between humans, because that is where he was when he wrote this years ago, right? So think about this way, it's not just our relationship is not I thou to humans, but I thou to the planet, I thou to the elephants, animals, I thou to plants. If you can look at a tree, I have a whole new meditation or a talk about just a tree and myself. That's a whole new topic. I wouldn't go details about it. But what if you considered a tree, a dog, any animal, the earth itself as a thou? And there are actually, I didn't come up with this, there are movements in the world to do just that. 3 countries that I know of, Ecuador, New Zealand, and India, have enacted personhood laws. In other words, giving earthly entities personhood. For example, in North India, my home country, in 2017, a high court in India declared Ganges and Yamuna rivers, these are the two holiest rivers for the Hindus, right? And their tributaries, such as streams, meadows, jungles, wetlands, springs, and waterfalls, as quote unquote legal and living entities having the status of a living person with all corresponding rights, duties, and liabilities. It's written into the Indian law. I said, "Oh my God, that sounds beautiful." The government is giving legal rights to these entities, which normally people think of no value. I don't know how they're going to enforce these laws, but I think the sentiments behind them, really raises consciousness. So I'll pause for a second. Will that make a difference? If you start thinking, or have you already thought? And how does that make you feel to think of a tree or I'm sure a lot of those people who have pets, especially dogs. I mean, I have a 30-year-old. He's not a boy anymore, but I knew him as a boy in Coral Springs, now lives in Gainesville. He has a dog. Her name is Liz, like Lizzie. And he thinks this dog is a being. He has conversations. He dances. I mean, it's amazing. So I know a lot of people can't even go that far to a dog, but can you do that, extend that to everything? That will be such a, consciousness raising experience to, appreciate nature around
Are
us.
you still having conversations with your tree?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Every day. Every day, I have a tree in my neighborhood, and I named it after my son, Johnny, who is autistic. And every time he visits, he hugs he kisses that tree and talks to that tree in an autistic language, which I don't understand. But, when I look at him and he's kissing this tree. So, yes, I walk up to this tree. I walk every day outside the house. That is a practice that if it is not raining heavy, I get into nature every day. I tell people, you cannot pay me to keep me inside. If somebody were to offer me $100 a day, Paul, don't get out of the house, stay inside, here's $100, I wouldn't take it. So my attachment to nature is so strong. I make it a point to go out there and just experience the freshness of the air and the trees. So I imagine myself when I'm walking and there's a breeze and the leaves are going like this. So I see it as a standing ovation from the trees that I'm coming, my arrival. They're saying, "Oh, Paul is coming." That's how I imagine. People will say you're crazy, but that could be the truth. Or they are clapping their hands. Oh, he's coming today. And believe me, yesterday, I don't know how many of you are uh, attending the Heart of the Earth Summit.
Earth, Nature Summit.
Heart of Nature Summit. Piero sent me the link. I think Piero send these nice people that link. It's free. It's free for 7 days. After that, you had to pay $200 to download all those talks. And yesterday, I mean, you need at least 4 to 5 hours a day, but they are offering this summit and 35 speakers, 5 speakers a day, all these environmental friendly, sages and mystics and writers, and they all have books, they all have websites. So I listened to 5 of the videos yesterday. Most of them are like 45 minutes. You have to sit in front of them, but it's very, can be very informative. So they're all talking about the same thing that I'm talking about, how to be conscious about the earth that is alive. And, I said this way, every day we get an invitation to a front row seat in the theater called the planet Earth. We have a front row seat, but we don't want to sit there. I mean, imagine that you go to Radio City Music Hall in New York and a nice a play that you always wanted to attend is being played there, and you have a ticket to a front row seat, and you say, "Nah, I'm not going." Imagine that. That's what Planet offers every day. So yeah, my tree, I have a lot more to say about the tree maybe another day, but yes, I do. And that tree has become, oh, this is what I wanted to say. Yesterday, they were talking about the medicinal quality. One of the speakers said, the forest is your medicine box. The forest is your pharmacy. And he talked about aspirin. I didn't know this. It was kind of came to me and said the common painkiller, aspirin. Its scientific name is, ACETYL acetylsalicylic. That's the name. You always have aspirin is the common name, but they all have a scientific name. And originally, it came from the branches of the willow tree. The ingredients of aspirin was originally extracted from the willow tree branches and leaves. So it simply says, so I'm saying to myself, why do I need to go to Publix pharmacy and get this artificial pill? I go straight to the tree. I'll go straight to the tree and hold the leaves and pray to the leaves and embrace the leaves and get some medicine, flow into me. And you can do that in imagination. And I'm trying to make it work. It really helps. But it all starts with the awareness, though. If you just walk near the tree and say, oh, I don't care, then nothing happens. So we don't come or to the earth. We don't come on the earth. We come out of the earth. That's a huge shift that we need to make. And then life will start changing. And, there is a famous, every year, at least on Ash Wednesday, in the Christian churches, they say, we are dust and unto dust we shall return. That is reminding us of the coming from the earth. Our body is an outgrowth of the earth. It is part of the planet, not apart from it. Remember that all the elements of the earth, such as oxygen, hydrogen, helium, carbon, and nitrogen, are all contained in our body. We have iron in our blood, calcium in our bones. Just as 70% of the earth is water, our body is 70% water. Moreover, we have the steel in our refrigerator door, the aluminum in the tin cans, the copper in our pennies, and the lithium in our cell phones. They all come from the earth. So we are intertwined with this mother earth, which is planet earth. So if you remember that on a conscious level, then we will treat the earth with respect and awe and adoration. And the interbeing aspect of our life will be a cyclical movement, gaining energy from the mother, as children always do from their mothers, and being a participant in our earthly life than an observer, just, hands like this, and I don't care what happens. So everything earth related, tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, all these earthly realities we sometimes see as negative, we start feeling about them differently. It's a complete shift in the way we look and experience life. So this notion, my awareness and my awakening to the planet, made me think differently about dominion of the, over the earth. This is one thing. As a Christian and as a priest, I always said, the Bible says, actually, creation story talks about, we don't have to take the story literally, but Adam and Eve, they say, have dominion over the earth. And that was interpreted as, I'm the boss. The earth is under me and I can do anything I want to do. I can manipulate the earth. So I don't see it as any more dominion as opposed to be as servants. So I asked the question, who belongs on the earth actually? So the fish that can call 90% of the earth home, or me, who can only claim like 12%. Who is bigger here? Who owns the place, right? So we had to remember we cannot survive without the earth, but the earth can survive without us. Now that's a big shift. When I go back to the oak tree that I see, that tree at least is, people are saying at least 200 years old. It was in Gainesville growing and standing there before I ever came to Gainesville 2 years ago. And I go underneath that tree and touch that tree and I say, you know what? I thank the tree for the stability that it has offered and the resilience it has offered. And there are some branches are like broken. The trunk of the tree has some, imperfections, if you can call it, weather related. And I think of my son who is autism. He is, he's like that. He's not all there. He has deficiencies. So it's like, and I say to myself, I'll be dead and gone, but that tree will still be here. There's another maybe 100 years to go. So there was an article I was reading just this week in connection with this, and it was titled this way. It's so funny though. It says, God admits humans aren't even in the top 10 of his favorite creations. Yeah, that's the title of the article. Humans aren't even the top 10 of his. And this says, this is an imaginary interview with God. It says, I don't know how humans ever came to the conclusion that they are my favorite species, God said. And then there is a quote, there are only 7 billion of you idiots. Do you know how many ants there are on the earth? How many amoebas? Hell, there are more germs inside one of you morons than all the humanity put together. I thought that was so clever and so beautifully put. So it makes us feel like, come on, we're not masters, we are servants. So given all this, I always wonder how incurious, people are not curious about the planet. They don't think about it. They don't connect with it because the earth actually gave birth to us. It sustains us. It supports us. And so my conclusion is, it is time to end our sleepwalking on earth and wake up. So consider this question. This is from Sally McFeig, one of my authors, that I read. And she said, what if we saw the earth as part of the body of God, not as separate from God? but as the visible reality of an invisible God. What if you, it's actually called panentheism, which is seeing everything as God and seeing God in everything. So it's like a circular understanding. So this is a quote I used during my speech on Sunday. It says, even though it appears that we are staying put on a sturdy surface, on a static earth with our solid bodies, the reality is that we are a collection of atoms with consciousness, swirling around in space on a spinning planet, involved in a spine-tingling cosmic ride. That's actually what is happening. And that's a very, when I wrote this, I said, this is what I am, and this is what we are all experiencing. So the question is, am I having an enjoyable ride, or it's a bumpy ride? That's the question.
Very
Any
good.
questions, comments?
Well, I wanted to open the floor. I just want to read Madhu left, and she left a comment. As part of the culture I grew up in India, we unknowingly respected nature and earth. Trees are worship, rivers are worship, zero waste is taught. And we are very respectful of books and things. We never touch them with our feet or kick them. Even shoes are to be thanked and never just kicked out of our feet. Inanimate objects are thanked like a fan that keeps you cool. So there is a reverence for the
That's
object.
from Mathu, right? And she was so right. A privilege, I should say, looking back, that I didn't have that she had, because she belongs to a Hindu religion. Madhu, she's Hindu from North India, and I'm a Christian Catholic. Unfortunately, Christians are only 2% in India, and Hindus are about 85%. And so we were sheltered. Catholics were sheltered, saying that Hindus were lower because we imported this Western theology. And I was kind of blinded because we were kept in this nice little, cocoon, as it were, of Christianity. And when I was in the seminary, they never encouraged us to study Indian philosophy, even though I lived in India. I had to get outside India to look back at India with appreciation. So what she said is true. That's why Ganges River, where they go, is divine to them. I went there as a tourist years ago, 25 years ago. If I go now, I will go with very different attitude.
The floor is open. Nancy, Arlene.
Anybody? Questions, clarifications, comments?
So let's go one by one. Nancy, what are your comments?
Just invigorating, and thank you so much, Paul, for sharing your thoughts with us today. Just so many things to think about, and appreciating the earth more. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Nancy. Arlene?
I have to say what Nancy did. I think that I heard the words, especially about I'm not on earth, I'm with earth. And that changed the focus a great deal. I had never thought of it like that. And I'm going to, when I go back to Michigan, I'm going to see if I can develop a relationship with a tree right on my property.
Yes. Yep.
Very good.
That's beautiful.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Marcella?
Well, thank you so much, Paul. I mean, I'm right with you. I totally hear you and agree with everything you're saying. And what I'm hearing is how to cultivate right relationship with all sentient beings. Because to me, we call them trees, but who knows what they are? They're expressions of divinity.
Mhm.
And I think to develop that connection, that sacredness, the reverence to the earth, and we're walking on sacred land. I've been very connected to a lot of the shamanic cultures, and these cultures really have a very healthy connection to the earth, to the stars, to the planets, and they do amazing, beautiful rituals and ceremonies to honor the earth, to be grateful to the earth, to make an offering. And in my own little way, I do a little bit of that. I have no problem hugging trees and talking to the trees and communicating with the trees and making an offering to the trees when it's maybe a little bit of sage or just water is as a gift of gratitude to the mother, because the mother is taking care of us. She has been, she is, and hopefully she will be. And I don't think we're going to save the earth. She doesn't need saving from us. She can just shake us off and, like fleas. I think it's who are we becoming, or what are we becoming in the process of awakening? So I think she's really teaching us that. Not that we're going to save her. She doesn't need us to be, she just needs us for us to wake up and transform into the best expressions of our own divinity. Because I think we're not just human beings, we are divine beings in human form.
Beautiful.
So something like that.
Beautiful.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, Marcella. Stevie, and then Devendra. You have to unmute yourself, Stevie.
Ooh, wow, so many thoughts. Marcella saying that, we don't have to save the earth because she's way stronger and more powerful, and but we have to learn to let her save us. We have to learn to let her save us, and we're not. We're fighting her all the way. We're killing her off every day and fighting her as we maybe did when we were little kids with our mothers, with negating everything and no, 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 and I know better and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, we have to learn how to allow her to show us, which she would do very, very freely. How to
It's interesting. This image is interesting that that humans are not adults yet. That humans are still teenagers, having confrontations with Mother Earth.
Yes, and they're fighting every inch of the way, as we did when we were very, very little, for independence.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, but we're fighting the wrong person,
And
as we probably were then.
And that's a good word again that you use. We're fighting for independence.
Independence.
When we should be accepting interdependence.
Exactly, exactly. If we ever achieve the independence that we think we really need, we're dead. We're gone.
Yeah.
We're gone. And then it's also a little bit about Paul's, the caste system came to mind very, very strongly there. I read a book called Caste, and very fascinating to me. And yeah, and you were saying about the Christians are such a small percent over the Hindus, and yet they came into, that's what I'm assuming. I'm not saying I don't have knowledge of this, but I'm just saying my understanding, and they came in to cultivate this superiority to take over.
Money. Yeah, there's a reason for that. That's that observation. You're right. What happened was, Indian economy is, the poverty is so rampant. So the Christian church had connections with the West because of religious connection. Germany, United States, and the whole of Europe was predominantly Christian.
Yes.
So they pumped in money to India, and the Christian churches built the best hospitals and the best schools. And so the population, Hindus included, dependent on them to go to school and get an education and speak English so you can get out of the country. So it was a disproportionate amount of influence from a small group of people because of the money.
So you had to depend on them so that you could get out of the country?
Education, English. Where do you learn
Yes,
English?
yes.
English medium schools.
Right. Oh, of course. So, but what I'm saying is the object was to get out of the country, not to develop what the country was all about.
Even today, if especially to, I would say 95% of young people in India now, if they have an option to go to United States or Canada or any of the European countries, they will go in a New York minute
Wow.
for opportunities, because the unemployment is 35%. Inflation, and we have 1.4 billion people crammed into a country that is 1/3 the size of the United States. So yeah,
Wow.
it is, I didn't come to immigrate, I just came to study and I just
Yeah.
happened to stay.
Yes.
But that's not the case with a lot of people who are just looking for opportunities. I
Wow.
mean, why would some of them would leave India and travel for 2-3 months, going through countries where they don't require a visa, like Ecuador, Turkey doesn't, so they will fly in there and then they walk coming through Colombia, Mexico, and to the border. So yes, that is desperation, financial.
So the lesson they
Existence.
tried to teach them was successful.
Yeah.
That they had to leave there to become what they really already are.
Yeah.
Whew. Wow.
Arlene, if I have advice for you, if you have a tree in Michigan, you go to the tree, sit under the tree, name it, give it a name, right? And use your tree. I use it as a therapist. You don't need an appointment. You will not be billed by the hour. No judgment. Just sit there, take a deep breath, and have a conversation as if you're talking to a human being. Try that. I mean, I do that all the time. I wanted to show you actually this is the tree I'm talking. This is my tree. I don't know if you can see it on screen. That is the oak tree. And here's a better one. That's the one. That's
Get
the
it,
tree.
get it
That's my,
closer. Get it
huh?
closer to the screen. Yes. Okay. Good. Good.
That's the
Wow.
oak tree. And there is one leaf on this tree. I don't know if you can see it.
No.
I walk up there. This one here on that one leaf is bigger than all the other leaves. Can you see it?
No,
I don't know
not
if you can.
really.
It's not easy to see.
Yeah.
Oh,
See?
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
A
see
little.
one leaf
Yeah.
bigger than all the other leaves?
Yes. Yes. Now, yes.
Yes. That leaf, I used to every day take that leaf into my hand and kiss it.
Mm.
Okay. And so that lasted the longest. Every other leaf from that group fell to the ground. This lasted the longest until the other small one sprouted in early February. So it was so funny when Judy and I, my wife and I go for a walk. She's not attached to this tree that I am. She's in a different place, and so she'll keep. So when I go to this tree to kiss, she'll say, "Do you want a quiet moment with the tree?" she she will say, "Do you want a quiet moment?" Because we are walking together until that time, right? And then, then when I go to the tree, I divert from the street to the tree. She'll say, "Do you want some quiet time with her?" Just joking, but it's so funny. So what I said was, the leaf that got my attention and my love lived longer than every
The
other
other one.
leaf, which fell to the ground early end of January. This lasted for another 2 weeks. until the new one sprouted, and then that all. So I have it at home. I have it somewhere in my office. That tree, that leaf is somewhere here. Okay, I can't find it. But I have kept it. I haven't thrown it away. So yeah,
Beautiful.
connection, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Beautiful. Okay, guys, we have still Devendra and Penelope, but Arlene, would you want to comment anything about your new therapist?
I'm looking forward to the relationship.
Good.
Okay. And I'm sure at some point when you come back, you will be able to share with us.
Very good. Devendra?
Yes. First of all, it's great to see everyone. And it's great to see Paul after a long time. And I guess, well, I don't know if I'm kissing trees or hugging trees, but I know whenever I go for a walk, I notice the breeze and the birds and the planes and the trees, and I just keep quiet and I just notice it,
Yes.
If I talk, I won't notice what's going on, So you gotta keep quiet and then just notice the nature around you, as you're going for the walk. And
Beautiful.
appreciate it.
Yes. Beautiful.
Very true.
Penelope wrote, she said, I'm living daily and fully with the earth. Amen. Thank you, Paul, for your gift from God. Thank you, my dear Penelope. So I'll add my comments. A long time ago, I said, going through the fundamental questions of life, I said, what were we doing here? What's this? And so two things came to me. One, I learned from a friend. He said, Piero, we are on a learning campus. So think of planet Earth as a school or a college or university. And we are all enrolled in the same course. It's called Life 101. And it's an interesting course because the tests are given before the lesson. So you have to be tested first and then you're going to get the lesson. So I love that. I evolved to think that this is a garden and a playground. So I think of planet Earth as our garden and our playground. And I say, okay, why we're here? We're here to enjoy the beauty of the garden and have a good time in the playground. And if we're called to do so, we can make the garden a little bit more beautiful. We can make the playground a little bit more enjoyable for everybody. And we should also share our toys, because when others are having fun, we also are having more fun. So heaven is here. For me, this idea of heaven, and many authors, many wise people have said, heaven is here, but if we allow it to be, if we give permission, if we want heaven to be here, heaven is here. We need to organize ourselves to live in this planet a little bit differently. We need to respect everything and everybody, so we can make of this place heaven, heaven on earth. Okay? Heaven on earth. Very
Awesome.
good. So I guess that we are approaching the end, and we usually go with one word. And then we can thank Paul for this enlightening conversation. And then I'll send the recording to everybody. Okay, I also am going to send the link again if you guys want to listen to the speakers. I think David Loy is in the roster of the speakers today, right?
Yes, yeah.
So you can listen to our friend David Loy as well. So let's close our eyes. Let's think about one word or a few words that you want to. Okay, I'll look at the squares and I'll call you. Let's start with Marcella and then Stevie.
Well, thank you so much for such a gorgeous exploration and very illuminating. Thank you so much, Paul. You made me realize, some things that I haven't, thought about the concept of looking for the truth out there, and we really neglected our connection to earth. And I think Catholicism had something to do with it. But anyways, my word will be honoring sacred connections to sentient beings.
Thank you.
Mhm,
Stevie, and then Devendra.
mhm,
Yes, thank you, Paul. Once again, as always, this was wonderful.
mhm,
And I can only say it's
mhm,
new to me, new for me, opening. It's an opening. It's a wonderful opening.
mhm.
Thank you, Stevie. Devendra, and then Penelope.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Paul, for being here. And then my further phrase will be the change you want to see in the world.
Mm,
Mhm.
Be
beautiful.
the change you want to see in the world.
Thank you.
Penelope said, she wrote, heaven on earth, Paul and heaven, thank you today for being here.
Yay.
Thank you, Penelope. So yeah, my word is my word of gratitude to Paul for sharing his insights about,
Mm,
you know, this relationship with love with the earth.
mhm,
And my gratitude to all of you for being here
mhm,
and participating in this beautiful conversation.
mhm.
Have a great day, everybody. We'll see each
Thank
other
you.
soon.
Thank you for inviting me.
thank
And
you,
thank
thank
you
Oh,
so
I'm
much.
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't give the word to Paul.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to say thank you. Every opportunity I get, in fact, I have a 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock with another meeting, a Zoom group in New York.
Mm,
I will never say no when I get an opportunity to talk about something that I'm so passionate about,
mm,
and that changed my life.
mm,
Because people ask me, I was at a stress seminar and I said, "Are you stressed?" No, I have zero stress.
mm,
I mean, we are not supposed to stress out on this beautiful planet.
mhm,
So Einstein I'll end with Einstein's words, which is actually my book starts with. It says, look deep into nature,
mm,
and then you will understand everything better.
mm.
Beautiful.
All right.
Amen.
Thank you. God bless. Let me go for a few minutes and start at 12.
Bye-bye, brother. Thank
Bye.
you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.